It is MEC's belief that businesses have a history of reinvesting in their business if they're able to do so. And that's why these are so important and why we did support the effort to make this happen. As a state, we have a $6 billion budget. Trying to figure out how to spend that money can sometimes get a little difficult. So it takes teamwork. And today, we do have a team working from appropriations. In the Senate, it's Senator Bud Clark. In the House, it's Representative John Reeves. And their role is to make sure that we're spending our money the right way. And they want to do it together. And they want to speak to you together this morning. So please welcome Senator Bud Clark and Representative John Reeves.
Thank y'all. We did a radio show this morning, so we've kind of continued this for y'all. I'm glad that y'all are here today. This is my Appropriations Committee room. And as I look around this room, John, I think there are a lot of appropriators in here that you appropriate at your own business or your own household. And as Appropriations Chairman, it's our job to allocate the state's resources in the most efficient manner. It's all about priorities, and the entire legislature votes on all this, but it's an everyday, every hour process of trying to do the best job to appropriate the state's dollars. I carry a budget everywhere I go, believe it or not. That's what this is rolled up, and I had planned to take a couple hours to go over this, but Snowden was ahead of us, so we'll... Anyway, so John.
If you notice, we're having difficulty breathing up here. Snowden sucked the oxygen out of this area up here. Senator Clark summed it up pretty good. Each and every one, most of the people in here, you have businesses. You've been doing it for years, and you have parameters called a budget. And you have to work within that budget. Sometimes you say, well, God, I need more money, but you work in that budget. Senator Clark and I, we strive to stay within the pennies of revenue that we get. We come up here, we don't know how much money we're going to get. It's a projection, and we work with what we have, and we stay in it. This year, we're going to really strive to keep the 2% set aside, which is we're only going to spend 98% of our budget, not 100%. And we're going to stick to that. Why do we have that? That goes into the rainy day fund. And if you don't have a savings account and things get tight, you could have major problems. This last year, I don't know if y'all are aware of it, but when we ended the year 17, there were 4 cuts within the last 30 days. And had we not had the rainy day fund, you would have to go straight to the agencies and take it from the agencies, which would really probably really shut them down. And some was taken, but a good part of it was taken from our rainy day fund. So that's why we're really making sure that we have some savings. And but we strive and we do maintain that we work within our budget. And like I said, we have to make hard decisions, just like you do. I hope that y'all will think about that instead of when you hear negativity, that we're doing the best and the fairest job we can with what we have. And I'm going to pass it back to Senator Clark because he has seniority on me.
Yeah. The final comment I'd like to make is the 2 big ticket items in the budget are Medicaid and education. We've got major rewrites of the technical bills dealing with both of them. It's already been mentioned by the speaker about a rewrite of the MAP formula, and we've got our Medicaid technical bill that's going to be rewritten also. I plan to spend a majority of my time on those 2 items. That makes up, out of $20 billion, when you add all the federal money, we're actually $20 billion. Scott mentioned $6 billion. That's our discretionary state support money. Then the federal money plops in there, and it's another $14 billion. Most of that is Medicaid. So those large ticket items deserve us spending most of our time. And so that's what you'll see me doing. That's my office right there. I'll be spending, you'll see that light on late at night many times if you pass by. Anyway, again, I want to thank y'all for being here and appreciate you coming to the Capitol. Appreciate all that you do. A lot of friends out here that I see, a lot of my local friends. And anyway, thank y'all for what you do.
Thank y'all for allowing us to speak. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our final speaker of the morning is our Lieutenant Governor, Tate Reeves. You've heard him say it, you've heard me say it, his number one priority from the day he was elected was to make sure any legislation that was considered drove Mississippi's economy in a positive way and created jobs. He has focused on that since day one. He continues to focus on it. Would you please join me in welcoming our Lieutenant Governor?
Good morning. Well, the good news that I have to report today is that just like last year, my staff still will not give me my passwords so I can do Twitter all night long. It really is a privilege for me to be here to talk to you about some of the great things going on in this building. I know that the two chairmen of appropriations did a great job outlining some of the challenges that they face. One of the things that I've liked to do over the last year as I've read some of the reporting that's come out of the financial situation the state's in is to try to put it in a form where most everyone can understand. Because I believe, as you've heard me say, that we have three primary goals in state government to ultimately accomplish what has to be our ultimate goal, which is we must improve the amount of jobs in our state. Job creation must be our number one priority, and to do that, we must continue to do three things. We got to have a fiscally responsible government. If we're going to see job creation, we've got to have a tax code that is fair, one that is flat, one that encourages economic development, not one that discourages it. And the third thing that we must do if we're going to see long-term economic growth and prosperity in Mississippi is we must improve the educational attainment level of our citizens. Well, as we look to each of those three items, we've done a number of things in the last 6 years, and we'll continue to work with our friends and counterparts in the House to continue along those efforts. But I want to begin by talking about being fiscally responsible. One of the things that your leaders in this building, along with Governor Bryant, have decided is we're simply not going to spend money that we do not have. The fact of the matter is, when I came in January of 2004, we inherited a budget that the previous year, the legislature had spent $712 million in one-time money on recurring expenses. It literally took us over 10 years to get out of that budget hole, because what you know as local small business men and women is that you can spend more than you make for a week. You might can do it for a month, but you can't do it year after year after year and it becomes sustainable. And so we made the decision that we're simply not going to spend money we don't have. Well, if you've read any of the local newspapers in the last year and a half, and the reporting, the way in which evidently they define government finance is as follows. Imagine for just a second for me that you run a state agency. And imagine that in the current fiscal year, your state agency spends $1. Imagine that this year your agency is spending $1. Now imagine that we start the budget process, which by the way is about a 9-month process for us in Mississippi. We start sometime in August. We complete it usually in early April. And so imagine that we start the budget process and you sit around and you decide that the mission that your agency provides is critically important. And because your mission is critically important, that you're going to come to the legislature and ask next year, not for the dollar that you're spending this year, but ask for $1.25. Well, as we go through the budget process, understand that no one ever gets everything that they want, but let's just assume that the Appropriations Committee chairman that just spoke make a decision that the mission that you provide is critically important, and so they do want to increase your year-over-year spending authority. And imagine that they decide that although you're spending $1 this year, they're going to appropriate for you $1.10 to spend next year. Now, just fast forward and pretend that you're actually operating in year 2 when you're appropriated $1.10, and understand that revenues are continuing to grow, but they're not growing at a level as fast as the budget experts had projected. And because revenues are not growing at the level that they had projected, imagine that the governor, because he's required to by statute, has to come in the middle of the year and reduce your ability to spend from $1 and a dime to $1 and a nickel. Now, according to the Clarion Ledger and others, your state agency just took a 20% budget cut. Because after all, they asked for $1.25, and you're only going to spend $1 and a nickel. As many of you know, my family runs a small heating and air conditioning business in Pearl, Mississippi, and what I'll tell you, in the way in which we budget in our small business, you didn't just get a 20% budget cut, you just got a 5% year-over-year increase in your ability to spend. My friends, there is a difference between budget cuts and spending cuts. There is a difference in your small businesses. There is a difference in government as well. And the fact of the matter is, if you look at spending in our state from FY 2010 till FY 2018, the year that we're currently in, we're going to spend almost $400 million more on education in our state than we did the year before I was lieutenant governor. Because we believe very strongly, as I mentioned earlier, that a key component to seeing long-term growth and economic prosperity in our state is we must improve the educational attainment level of our citizens. And so we're investing in public education at all levels, but we also believe that just investing and doing nothing else and expecting different results is not what we must do. In fact, we have done things in the last 6 years to provide for more options for our kids in our state, whether it be public charter schools, education savings accounts for students with special needs, or everything from working with your leadership to ensure that we have appointed school superintendents, not elected school superintendents in Mississippi. You know, when I first got elected, we had 150 elected school superintendents in America, and over half of them lived in Mississippi. Now, if we were in the upper quartile or the upper decile of performance, that might be okay, but we're not. And we took an issue that MEC has been supporting for 20 or 25 years, and we actually, with the majorities, were able to pass it and get it done. Not only have we changed the school governance in many school districts across the state, we've also reduced the number of school districts in Mississippi. When we first started, there were 152. Today, there are less than 140 once all of the bills are fully implemented. And so we've reduced by 13 the number of school districts. Now, some of you are probably saying, hey, 13 in 6 years, that ain't that good. I don't totally disagree with you. I just ask you to consider the fact that in the 30 years before I became lieutenant governor, the Mississippi legislature mandated consolidation of exactly 0 school districts in 30 years. And you may say, well, why are you consolidating school districts? It's pretty simple. We believe that the best way for every kid to get a quality education is for there to be a quality teacher in every classroom. And the best way for there to be a quality teacher in every classroom is to spend more money in the classroom and less money in the district office. And we're beginning to see some success in those school district consolidations where you're seeing more money being directed to the classroom, and you're also seeing improvement in overall quality of the opportunities that kids are getting in our state. The fact of the matter is, you know, our former governor used to always say, one thing that is tried and true about the press is they never cover airplanes that land safely. I hadn't spent a lot of time writing about the fact that our graduation rate in Mississippi has improved over 12 percentage points in the last 6 years. You haven't seen a lot of articles about it, but it's critically important because we need to give credit where credit is due. And the credit isn't due in this building, by the way. All we did is raise the level of expectations. All we did is raise the level of expectations, but Mississippi administrators, Mississippi teachers, Mississippi parents, and most importantly, Mississippi kids have risen up and met those increased expectations. In fact, I mentioned graduation rates earlier. The year before I ran, high school graduation rates in America were 82.3%. In Mississippi, they were 70.5% high school graduation rates. We were over 12 points below the national average. Last year, the national average had risen by 0.9%. It had gone from 82.3 to 83.2%. In Mississippi, our graduation rate has risen from 70.5 to over 82%. We are now less than 1 percentage point below the national average. Now, I will admit the national average is not good enough, nor should that be our goal. But if we can continue on the same trajectory, within the next year or two, we will actually exceed the national average. Not only are we seeing improvement at the high school level, we're also seeing our fourth grade reading and fourth grade math testing on Nate. The results improve. They're improving in large part because of the third grade reading gate, or the Literacy Promotion Act. The Literacy Promotion Act says you cannot be promoted from the third to the fourth grade unless you can read at a certain level. And one of the things that you're going to see me push for in the coming years is to continue to raise that bar. Continue to raise the bar of what it takes to be able to move from the third to fourth grade, because although we've seen improved results, in fact, a couple years ago, the most recent results that I've seen, our Mississippi was the only state in the nation that saw both significant and marked improvement in both fourth grade reading and fourth grade math results. In fact, students that year that were considered economically disadvantaged scored at the national average. Again, at the national average isn't good enough relative to their peers, but that was the best relative performance Mississippi kids have ever experienced. And so what I want to leave you with today is the fact, and it is a fact, that we are seeing improved results. We've tried to move our conversation away from one of inputs to one of outcomes. Because at the end of the day, it's how well those kids are performing that's going to decide how well they do in life, but also how strong our economy is. And so as we work over the next 3 months with our friends and counterparts in the House, as well as Governor Bryant, to continue to try to make a difference in our state. And we have many challenges, just like virtually every other state in the nation has many challenges. I do believe that coming off 2017, our bicentennial year, our 200th year as a state, and I said this all over the state last year, and I'm going to continue to say it. While I recognize, and we should all recognize, that we have a very complicated history, we as Mississippians need to spend a lot less time apologizing and a lot more time bragging about the good things that are going on in our state. Now, as we push forward and work with your leadership, and congratulations to Scott, by the way. Congratulations. We look forward to working with him in the coming years in his new position. And I know he'll do a fantastic job representing your interest in this building and throughout the state. But as we do that, may we continue to work together to make Mississippi an even better place to invest capital, an even better place to create jobs, and yes, an even better place to raise a family. If that will be at the heart of all of our decisions, I'm convinced that Mississippi will continue to see great improvement. And I think that's something all of us, Republicans and Democrats and Mississippians from all walks of life, can agree on. That should be our ultimate goal. Thank you all.
The Mississippi Economic Council, we're the state chamber of commerce. We represent businesses all across Mississippi, large, small, all different types of industry sectors, business sectors are part of this. We have over 1,100 members that are business members, and within those companies there's about 11,000 people that participate. Today we'll have about 1,000 to 1,200 people take part in our Capitol Day events that are held both at the Jackson Marriott in the morning, here at the state capitol, then a reception for state officials and legislators and our members. Very excited about what's happened today. We've got to hear from the governor, the lieutenant governor, speaker, as well as legislative leaders and the Secretary of State talking about key issues. Workforce development. How do we create a skilled workforce, an educated workforce, to create the opportunities in Mississippi to really move our state forward. Focus on other things such as transportation infrastructure, job creation, all of the things from an educational standpoint that are going to make our state even better than we are today and create additional opportunities going forward. There are three keys that are our priorities, and while there are several other issues we'll be working on, number one, we want to continue to focus on the importance of preserving our transportation infrastructure in Mississippi. Look for ways to get dollars into the system today and ultimately provide a long-term sustainable source of revenue to address those issues. Secondly, we think it's very important that we have an education funding that's fair and balanced to all districts, that's focused on the student, pays attention to career technical development so that we're not only preparing students for college, but preparing students for the jobs that exist today in the technical, career technical realm, making sure both of those areas are very much part of the equation and part of the discussion. And then finally, how do we get some scholarship dollars for those career tech jobs for people to get the training they need to be successful and be available to go to work in Mississippi today?
I think there are a lot of successes. One is, for example, the Tech Master program that MEC started 4 years ago, where we've already had 3,000 graduates. We're in 83 school districts where we're teaching people some basic life skills, technical skills, and soft skills so that they can be successful when they get out in the workforce. So we're doing some things right. We're doing a lot of things right, but I think we have room for improvement in consolidating and streamlining some of these efforts so that it's a little clearer to our businesses and to our people as to where they can go and what they can do to improve those skills.
Mississippi's wins in economic development this past year in 2017, over 75% of our successes, our wins, came from business and industry that's already here, existing business and industry. So the Mississippi Development Authority works with economic development professionals all across the state, works with our utilities, our community colleges, lots of partners, and existing business and industry is really what sets the tone for growing our economy. Over 75% of our wins this past year came from business and industry that's already here. And those will be leaders that will be in this room here at the Capital Day, Mississippi Economic Council's Capital Day event in just a few minutes.
We took a survey of some almost 2,000 Mississippi businesses that we have on our website that are registered with the state. And we asked them what's most important, and it was a runaway favorite, educated workforce. And the second one was community service, people that want my factory there, that want my business there. Those two led the survey completely, and not even in the top 10 was tax incentives. So we talked a little bit about the fact that our students no longer we've raised our high school graduation rate to almost 82%. A lot of hard work by teachers and students and the governor, but now it's apparent to me that we're going to have a 13th and a 14th year of schooling. Our technical training will be the educated workforce. And over half the jobs in Mississippi now require more than a high school education. And that number will increase exponentially, I think, in the future. Everybody says that. It's already happening in Mississippi. So we just wanted to reinforce the educated workforce, and then remember that education doesn't work in a silo. These people that are sitting in those chairs need to get involved in education. That's where their workforce is. That's the people who will be working for them. That's the people who will be hiring their children. They need to be involved in this. So we're encouraging our MEC members not to just say, I want an educated workforce, but become involved with our community college system, the three of those together, to really produce what is 80% of the workforce.
The outlook for jobs and for a growing economy in Mississippi is extremely bright. We're bullish. Coming off 2017, Governor Bryant became the first governor in the history of the state of Mississippi to hold up the Golden Shovel. The Gold Shovel is the ultimate award for economic development success around the country. 5 states each year awarded a Golden Shovel. Mississippi in 2017 became one of those. And it's no secret that we have the lowest unemployment, 4.8%, in Mississippi history. And that's driven by the fact that our high school graduation rates are going up. Our community colleges are doing a great job in workforce training. The Mississippi Works Fund is actually bearing fruit. We now have furniture academies. We have 2 coding academies in the state of Mississippi. And it's just a relationship between organizations like the Mississippi Economic Council doing a terrific job setting the table with good policy and legislation that enables Mississippi's economy to grow.
Any business, any individual is open. MEC is a private nonprofit. We're supported solely by our business and members funding us to do this. We do not take any government dollars. The reason it's important for you to be involved is, number one, the connections that you make. Today is a perfect example. You get an opportunity to be part of this event at the Capitol, meet with state legislators, meet with other business leaders across the state, make the connections that's going to help you be successful in your business. Secondly, it is a support of what we're trying to do in an overall effort in Mississippi to grow our state's economy, to improve our workforce, and create opportunities to really make a difference going forward.
MEC is the voice of business, and if, we're a big part of the state. The private sector is a big part of the state, the economy, and MEC is making sure that we continue to promote our existing businesses so they can grow, attract new businesses, and then again, create a better quality of life for our citizens because there are more jobs available.
Your reaction to everything that you've seen and heard here today during Capitol Day?
Well, it's a great opportunity for our private sector leaders to come together to hear from our public leaders what the legislative agenda is going to be, and then also to give our input back as to these are things that are important that we would like to be addressed. And so it's a real productive collaboration where we can come together and try to move Mississippi forward as a group.
It's just a fun opportunity for people to really get together and deal with issues that we have to deal with as, a leading organization representing businesses all across Mississippi.
If people have questions like more information, what should they do?
You simply go to mec.ms. Doesn't get any simpler than that, mec.ms.